everybody. I'm Lucy, and I'm here at 21st Yoga in Salt Lake City. We're grateful to have you with us today. I'm also happy to be supported for this particular class by Piper, who's going to be doing a lot of the demonstrations. This is a kind of an unusual class because we're going to do the entire practice on the wall. It's one of my very favorite series of practices, and it will be done particularly in the Yin Yoga style. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a little bit. But for now, if you don't already, please find a space in your home or wherever you are where you have enough of a wall to kind of use. So if you need to take a minute to kind of push some furniture out of the way or move a painting or move anything in your home, go ahead and do it now. While you're doing that, you can grab any kind of object that you might be able to prop your legs up on later, something like a block. So just take a second to go ahead and do that now. One of the weird things about doing this practice for some people is that not a lot of us are used to actually lying down on the floor and extending our legs up the wall. So Piper's going to show you an easy way to do that. And you basically come to the side of your body. You scoot your hip up directly against the wall as close as you can. And then you can go ahead and make your way all of the way onto your back and extend your legs straight up the wall. So that's where we're going to be for a good part of this practice today. So take a minute to just do that, and then scoot your booty as close as you can to the wall, and just let the arms relax, and just stay for a moment. So welcome, you guys. This is one of my very, very favorite practices. It's the one I use for before or after hiking. You can do it before or after any kind of activity, or you can use it as just kind of something that will bring down your stress and anxiety if you have any. This series is often prescribed for anxiety and depression. So really wonderful for athletes. Piper is a young athlete, and this is accessible to absolutely any person. So no matter whether you have a lot of experience at yoga or none at all, this is a wonderful series to just have in your back pocket for practicing. So welcome, you guys. For purposes of today, I'm going to invite you to join Piper in covering your eyes with something if you'd like. So we have a little eye pillow here, and if you have the end of a t-shirt, something soft that you want to place across your eyes, if you have an eye pillow at home, it's just nice to do that because we're facing up so much of this time. So love to just let you get settled and kind of organized in your space now. Another thing that you could do, just in these first couple of minutes before we get into the practice fully, is if you have any kind of your favorite playlist or any kind of music that you love to kind of relax to, or your chill out playlist, you're welcome to put that on. My voice will carry you through the practice, so you don't have to be necessarily looking at the video as we're going through. So you will be able to just have a little bit of music going on if you'd like in the background. So just take that minute to get that organized for yourself so that you can really be comfortable and really feel free just to relax and come down to the ground. Wonderful, you guys. So as you get placed along the ground, what you'll notice is that your back kind of has an opinion about being here, right? Because most of us are not used to being against the ground like that. We're just simply, that's just not simply something we do very often. So just take some deep breaths as you're down. Start to fill up your body, right? And what you might notice as you do that is that your arms want to spread a little bit farther away from your body. Just let that happen, okay? So just some nice, easy breaths. Good. And if you can turn your palms up, that's a really nice thing to do. It's just nice and opening for the chest and the heart and the chest. And then let the breath come all of the way down to your belly. So as you're breathing, you can imagine that you have this very spacious area at the lungs. And then because you're on your back, do feel free to just let the belly expand. And the reason that we want to be sure to do that here is because most of this practice, or a good portion of it anyway, is releasing and relaxing for the hips, the low back, the spine, the inner edges of the legs. And so we really want to flood that area with oxygen, give yourself some space just to breathe deeply. And of course, as you do that, you'll notice the relationship between what happens in the belly and what happens all of the way up and into the shoulders. So take some time to relax and release the shoulders as you're doing that. Good. And you can see Piper just doing some really gentle movement with her head maybe, and that's a great thing to do as well. So just a little bit of movement with the head just to release the neck, release the jaws, kind of softening at the cheeks. And you can even kind of wiggle your jaws back and forth so that you can feel there's a little bit of natural tension that we hold in the jaws. So just allowing for that softness in the face, which can really be an indicator of how our whole body begins to relax. Is as we're allowing the face to relax, we can soften the rest of the body. So just give that a try. So in all cases, the eyes are closed. If you need to peek open here and there to see where Piper is in the practice, that's great. And then just coming back to this easy released position. So when you feel like it, gently move the hands so that the palms are down on the abdomen. So you're just feeling the sides of the low belly. Place the whole hand there. And then we'll take several more deep breaths, really inhaling to inflate the belly. Good. And do allow yourself to breathe freely. So you don't need to be silent. I can hear Piper, calling in that deeper breath. She's using a little bit of an audible breath, which is perfect. And then you really do want to notice how it seems to you to bring the hands in to the belly, to feel the belly, but also how it feels to you to expand the belly out and into the hands. You're in the privacy of your own homes now, so that's really nice. But we have a lot of expectations about our bodies. We have a lot of judgments about our bodies. So today, in this hour, we want to just really see if we can set all that down and allow for our bodies to be this amazing vessel for oxygen and healthfulness and clarity and wisdom. So we have this ability to tap into that right now. So take another couple of full breaths into the belly. And then once again, just relax the arms down by the sides, turn the palms up, take your time. And for these last couple of deep breaths, moving the breath into the back side of your body. So you can almost imagine that the breath comes in its normal way through the nose, across the back of the throat. It enters your lungs, it radiates out. And then just see if you can feel the breath kind of bumping against the back side of your body. We can feel the solidity of the floor there. Wonderful. then relaxing around the mouth lastly. So just let the lips part maybe. A little ease around the mouth, the lips. You'll feel the cheeks relax a little bit, the chin even relaxes, and let the full weight of your head drop back against the floor. Good, so just take a couple of more breaths like that. Beautiful. As we start into the moving part of this practice, I'd love to draw your attention to the concept of surrendering. And that's a really good one for all of us. In the Yin Yoga practice, we really work on surrendering the body's weight to the ground. That's the opposite of what we do all of the time, right? But today, we'll also add to the physical act of surrendering our body weight, the emotional or the mental concept of surrender. In other words, just letting what is be. So for some of us right now, our lives are in a bit of transition. There might be change occurring. Our home situations may be different than they normally are. Our work situations may be different than they normally are. So just surrendering to whatever is occurring at the moment. And we'll continue to talk about that notion of surrender as we make our way through class. So take one more breath here. And then I'd like for you to bend both knees and bring the soles of the feet to the wall. So you can see that Piper has socks on. I'd encourage you to keep your socks on unless your body feels really warm. It's just nice to have them on and it's sort of snugly. And then widen your feet about hip distance apart. Perfect. Good. Spread your toes out against the wall, and then just know that we're going to be moving in this position a little bit. So if you have something covering your eyes and it slips away, then you're welcome to just pull it back as you'd like. But from here, we're going to peek our eyes open just enough that we can look between the ankles and see that our feet are even with each other. So I can see that Piper's are even with each other. In other words, one foot isn't higher than the other or wider than the other. You want the feet to be looking like kind of a wide number, 11. And then as you feel ready, push the feet into the wall, tuck the tailbone, and begin to peel your spine off the floor. So, good. You can lift that up as high or as not high as you'd like. And then I'm going to have Piper slowly put the spine back down on the floor. So we're just going to continue that action. Pushing the feet into the wall, tucking the tailbone, and lifting the hips up as high as feels right for you. Now, as you continue doing that for the next few moments, what you'll notice is that your spine has something to say about that, right? So we're going to continue this very gentle, allowing massage of the back. But we very much want to do exactly what Piper's doing here, which is kind of start conservatively, not lifting the hips up super high, and really articulating through that movement of the spine. And so as she comes up, you can see that she's traveling very slowly. And as she places the spine back down, we want to do that just one single tiny vertebrae at a time. So that takes a little bit of awareness of the belly, the abdominal muscles. So just continue to do that. Keep the shoulders relaxed. And let's take 2 more of those, just sort of massaging that area along the spine and playing with that. Good. One other thing to keep in mind as you complete this is noticing how much action you're giving to each of the legs. So typically we have one side of the body that's a little stronger than the other. So we want to make sure that we're not pushing with that right leg, in fact, or doing too much with one side of the body or not. So go ahead and lay the spine all of the way down on the ground. Let the whole weight of the sacrum, the low back, the hips come down, and then straighten the legs once again. So just extending the legs up the wall. Perfect. Good. And then Piper's adjusting her body so that she maintains that really close relationship to the wall. That's great to do. While you're here, just begin to kind of move the ankles around. You can spread the toes inside your socks or however they are. But just feeling the ankles, moving the feet around, moving the toes and spreading the toes. Wonderful. And then again, we're just going to pause for a few beats here, just to let the weight of the hips and the sacrum come down again. So just a lot of nice heaviness through the hips. So take another breath just like that. And then as you feel ready, bring the soles of the feet together. Let the knees open to the side of the room. And we're going to drop our legs down into this supported Baddha Konasana posture. So Baddha Konasana is just that open knee posture. If we were sitting on the floor, we would be doing it something like this. The beautiful part of this practice is that the wall is the perfect advocate for it. The wall ends up being this perfectly supportive space for anything that we're doing, including holding the weight of the legs. So here, Piper can totally relax the legs. And because of the kinds of sports that she does, her inner leg is a little bit tight and her quadriceps are tight. So she's really going to work to let the full weight of the legs release. So coming back to those deep breaths and just knowing that in the flavor of the Yin Yoga practice, we do stay in these poses for a couple of minutes for our purposes for this experience today. So what's sometimes nice to do is to bring the hands to the inner part of the knees and just press the knees away from your body so that you can actually find a little bit more space in the crease of the leg, that area where the leg intersects with the torso. So sometimes I like to kind of do that, either pressing equally with both hands or even sort of seesawing right hand and left hand a little bit so that you can get a little bit more, feel a little more ease at the area of the groin. Good. And then once more, you can release the arms down and just stay, surrendering yourself in this posture. So do take some deep breaths. Do feel the weight of the eyes in the sockets. Just relaxing the face once again, breathing. And here, just knowing that you're well supported by both the floor and the wall. So there's nothing that can happen. The legs might slip just ever so gently down. That's perfectly fine. But see if you can take all of the work away from the legs. And then see about softening the shoulders. This particular series ends up being this wonderful experience for the chest and the shoulders simply because you're supported and the back is allowed to relax. So with that softening of the back, because it's supported on the ground, the chest is able to do this very easy, kind of subtle stretch across the breadth of it. And you'll notice that as the hour passes, we'll have a little bit more ability to soften that armor that is what we normally carry on our shoulders. So take a few more breaths in that pose. Releasing at the neck, at the back of the head. One last little suggestion here that might feel good is if you tuck the chin, if you move the chin just very slightly in toward the chest, and it's a millimeter of movement, a centimeter of movement, not an inch, right? So it's just a little gentle tuck of the chin. You may be able to take the last couple of breaths here and really feel the back side of the neck opening, the area along the spine opening. So take one more full breath like that. And then as you feel ready, gently beginning to extend the legs back up the wall. Draw the knees together and just slide the heels back up the wall. And then once again, just moving the feet, the ankles, giving yourself a little bit of movement here, kind of returning your body to something that's familiar, that allows a little bit of movement. And then while maintaining this nice, easy posture of the shoulders, so really keeping the chest and the heart soft, bend the knees once again, and we'll come back to that place where we were going to do the rolling up and the rolling down against the wall. So press the feet against the wall. And again, widen the feet about hip distance apart. Yeah, and Piper's just peeking out from underneath her eye pillow just to see that the feet are even. Again, she's aware that she has a little bit of imbalance in her hips and a little bit of dominance in one side of her body. So she's just checking to see that position, that one foot isn't higher than the other. And then go ahead and return to that rolling up and rolling down movement. As you're doing this, and just feel free to take a few rounds of this, pushing the feet into the wall, lifting the tailbone. As you're doing that, just notice that the breath may travel in a little bit different way than it normally does. So when we begin to move the torso, the rib cage, the lungs in any kind of way like that, then we sometimes start to expel the air in different ways. So just know that it might not be that you have these big, fluid, smooth breaths. That your body is, especially as you lift the hips up a little higher, you may feel your body kind of expelling the breath in a little different way. So as you become used to this, for this last one or two in this round, you might try to lift the hips up a little bit higher. You'll feel that attention moving up the spine as Piper lifts her hips a little bit. She starts to come into that area at the middle of the back and a little bit higher, where most of us are really tight. So go ahead and lay the spine back down, lowering the hips all of the way down. And then as you feel ready, extending the legs once more. Good. Take a couple of moments to just release the legs. It's kind of interesting, this Yin Yoga practice. We do want to turn off the muscular tissue as much as possible, which is why we're using the wall and the floor so deliberately here. So in the Yin Yoga practice, we're trying to get to an area of the body called the connective tissue system. So that's fascia, scar tissue, ligaments. We want to just give everything a little bit of breathing room. So in this next pose, I'm Piper move her block. So she happens to have blocks just to the side of her body. And we're just going to use, go ahead and grab both of them and put one on each side of your body. So if you don't have blocks handy, anything will do. A pillow off the couch, something that's close by, or a backpack, anything that you have is great. So from here, we're going to keep that right leg exactly where it is. And so Piper, we're going to mirror that. So as you feel ready then, start to slide that leg down the wall. Good. The right leg stays entirely stationary. So it's almost like you're going to plug that right leg into the wall, into the body, and then extend the leg all of the way down. So if you peek your eyes open, and if you've done the other leg, it doesn't matter at all. We're going to do one leg at a time here. So the leg that's still extended straight up the wall is going to be orienting toward the 12 if you make a little clock face out of your body. And your leg extends all the way down toward the block. So you want the block to be able to catch the weight of the leg to provide you a little bit of support. So you can use that block or that backpack on whatever sort of height scale feels best to your body. And then we're going to entirely let that extended leg go. So really releasing and relaxing. So in another class, in a different kind of yoga practice, we might be really working with the legs to create a different kind of active stretch. So here, the leg is completely relaxed. So you might even give your leg a little wiggle just to demonstrate that you're not squeezing the quadricep, and the quadricep is here at the upper leg, just to make sure that you're not contracting and gripping with the body, surrendering the body weight. So some of you may have your leg all of the way down close to the floor. That's great. Take some breaths. And if you'd like, you can add a little bit to this pose by taking your attention to the leg that's extended up toward the ceiling. And we're going to bend that knee, bring the outer ankle to the wall, and let the knee open toward the side of the room. So if that's a little bit confusing from on your back, you can peek your eyes open and see that Piper is in this sort of, her legs have created this kind of jackknife pose. So that creates a lot more sensation for the entire openness of the body. And then here, in this posture, we really get to practice that idea of surrendering into whatever the feeling is, whatever the sense is of what's occurring for both your body and your psyche, right? So notice as you're just releasing and relaxing here, notice that you're feeling a lot in the inner leg. And at least for me, that's a little bit of a dance with my nervous system, right? In other words, we feel a lot of sensation and we know that the stretching is good, but it's hard to tell sometimes what is deleterious or not helpful sensation. In other words, something that's painful versus something that is a big feeling but is quite beneficial. So the way that I do that for myself, and I encourage my students, is to just observe exactly what it is that you're feeling. So it might be that there's a very broad kind of booming sensation in the legs. That is appropriate, right? That's all appropriate. It's a big posture to let the full weight of the leg drop down. And then it might be that there's something that feels a little bit sharp or acute or stabbing or jabbing. Those are not good feelings. Those are more poses or feelings that you want, where you want to come out of the pose just a little bit. So just notice that for yourself. For example, if you feel anything kind of that feels sharp around the knee in any way, then maybe you'd want to lift your block up to a higher trajectory, or you can always straighten this jackknifed leg and come out of the posture a little bit. If you're fine though, just take some breaths. And once again, allowing the shoulders to release, the chest to soften. And we'll just take 3 more breaths here. Check in with the jaws, the lips. As you feel ready, gently begin to straighten this bent leg first if you have it bent. If you have that leg that's straightened up against the wall already, go ahead and just move that leg a little bit. And then use the hand associated with that extended leg and just literally pick up the weight of the leg. You can help that leg move back toward the midline here. Wonderful. And then just moving and stretching in any way that you'd like. So you can see that for Piper and probably for yourself, it does take a little bit of time once you release the weight of the leg. It takes a little bit of time to ask the muscle tissue, the muscle system, to kind of come back and help you lift it up toward the center. So perfectly appropriate just to take as long as you need, right? And then as you feel ready, we're going to just extend that opposite leg all of the way down. Just slide it down the wall. So now we're giving the same attention to that opposite leg. And I'm just shifting the block underneath Piper's leg here, kind of behind me. And then because she's done a practice like this before, she's very thoughtfully just sort of watching her own body and noticing what it needs on this side. So before she moves into a deeper pose, she's just sort of assessing how balanced her pelvis feels, how her low back feels. And then if you feel like it, you can bend that leg that's extended up toward the ceiling. You can bend that leg and move into that little bit of jackknifed feeling again. Sometimes for me, I move into that pose and I'm a little too enthusiastic about it, and then I need to back out of it just a little bit. So know that you have permission to do that as well. So just letting the leg be heavy, seeing how that plays with the opposite leg, and relaxing. Because of the nature of Piper's sports, her shoulders get a lot of use. She carries tension in the shoulders like a lot of us do. So this opportunity just to melt the shoulders into the floor is one that can be really useful. sometimes what I think of for myself is that I'm wearing this coat of armor, this rigid, heavy metal coat of armor. And that protects me in a lot of ways from things that are coming in. It helps me to be strong. It helps me to do all the things that I need to do in life. And yet, over time, the weight of that can be quite harmful. Creates tension, headaches. So in this pose, as the legs are kind of doing their thing, you have the opportunity to soften at the shoulders, to imagine that that coat of armor just warms a bit and begins to melt off the body. So just taking several more breaths here. Notice if your body is lifting up or kind of pulling yourself out of this pose inadvertently. It's the nature of our bodies to protect ourselves. So, especially in a pose like this that's quite vulnerable, you may notice that your body is tugging a little bit inward, that the legs are kind of tugging toward the midline or upward, that the legs have a hard time surrendering. It's totally normal, and we're going to just see if we can ask that nervous system, the muscular system, to stand down. Using the exhalation to let go. So just take a couple of more breaths here. Very slowly, if you have that second leg bent now and in that jackknifed position, go ahead and just begin to straighten that leg, draw the knee in toward the center. And very wise, Piper's going to use her hands on either side. So when you start to draw this leg in toward the center, it may be that you need to use a little bit of arm strength to help with that, which is nice. So coming back to the center, just moving and stretching a little bit. And you can leave your blocks to the side of you if you like. We're going to use those in a minute again. Good. And in the same way that Piper's sort of moving around, finding that balance in her pelvis again, feel free to do that. And then we are going to come back to that roll up and roll down. So once again, bending both knees, finding that place where the hips are about as wide as the feet. And you can take them a little bit wider if that feels better to you as you make your way through the practice. Push your feet into the wall, tuck the tailbone, and let's just take 1 or 2 or 3 of these roll-ups and roll-downs. Good. Keeping the shoulders at ease and relaxed. Use the breath. So as you're doing this, considering that every inhale brings in clearing, support, fresh oxygen and air, and every exhalation allows this perfect egress of whatever has been dislodged in your body that is ready for letting go. So very deliberate about the exhalations. Just take one more like that. And then slowly laying the spine back down on the floor and straightening the legs once again. Wonderful. From here, just taking a moment, noticing the balance in the legs left to right. This time we're going to draw both legs down the wall and into a version of a wall-supported splits. So both legs are going to slide toward each wall. And then you have the blocks, if you'd like, or whatever you have. And you can catch the block, catch the leg with the block on either side. So that will be a really personal preference. And this ends up being a pretty big pose. So from here, you can have a little tiny bend in the knees. That might release the legs a little bit. And then see if you can, maybe let the heels drop down the wall just by a millimeter. Like there's just not, it doesn't take very much movement to have a profound change in the way that the body feels. And then I'd love for you to move the arms into kind of an easy goalpost position. And so if you can imagine just bringing the arms so that they represent that kind of open-hearted position that looks like a goalpost. So Piper, if you'll open your elbows and your arms a little bit, even more. Good. So I'm going to touch your arm here so that the arms are just relaxed like that. And what you'll find is that that provides an even bigger softening for the chest, a bigger stretch for the chest. Keeping in mind also that, again, this is a profoundly vulnerable position to have the belly exposed like this, the heart exposed like this. So just know that the breaths, even that taking of the bigger breath, is very courageous. So just releasing. And we'll take several more breaths here. While you're in this pose, imagining that the exhalation carries away anything that is complete within the body. And what I mean by that is, physiologically that can be just oxygen that's already had its exchange in your body. So you're just releasing carbon dioxide with every breath. And of course we do that naturally, we do that without thinking, but very purposefully letting go, releasing air that has already done its job inside your body, and really imagining that you're clearing, emptying your physical form for purposes of being able to draw in what's new. Draw in freshness and clarity. So take another couple of breaths here, softening the shoulders all the while. And then as you feel ready, first, before you move the legs at all, let's move the arms back to the position where they were. So you have access to the arms, just relaxing the arms, and then the arms are available to gently touch the outer thighs and help the legs together. Now, you will probably need to bend the knees before you draw the knees together. That will help. Again, if you actually have really let go with the weight of the legs, that will be a little challenging to get the legs back together. Take another few breaths. And just observing how that feels to have moved the legs after them being open for so long. So there's a little bit of vulnerability that comes with that. Want to be really gentle with ourselves. So take another couple of breaths here. And then if it feels good to your body, maybe inserting one roll up and roll down here. So you can find your way into that pose by just bending the knees and bringing the feet, soles of the feet to the wall. Exactly. The back will be changing the way it feels about this simple pose. So you may feel more tenderness in the middle of your spine. That's totally normal. If you think about what we're doing, we've created this therapeutic base for the pose, and then you've stayed here a long time. So that's really great for the spine in its corrective nature to keep the heart open, but it's a lot for the spine as well. So when you feel ready, maybe taking one more, good. And then lay the spine back down on the ground and extend the legs all of the way up. Good. So from here, cross your left ankle over the right thigh. You're going to do the opposite. Thank you. Good. So as you move into that position, your body, the legs look like kind of an upside down number 4 from where you are. So just staying in this position for a moment, just to see how the hips feel about it. In this pose, you want to make sure that the ankle is closer to your body than the kneecap, right? So we don't want anything, your leg pushing against the patella or the kneecap. So just organize your body that way. And then if it feels right to you, we're going to drop into a little deeper hip opening by starting to bend that right leg and moving into a deeper stretch. So as you do that, you will feel a big increase in the space, the stretch in the hip. So just taking your time to really bring the breath all of the way down into the hip socket. Sometimes I envision that the hip sockets are kind of like a second set of lungs. So drawing the breath down and into the low lobes of the lungs, and then even deeper than that and into the hip sockets. So as we stay in this pose for a few moments, allowing for the weight of the pelvis to be very heavy. So thinking about bringing the very lowest part of the tailbone back to the ground, just kind of dropping the hips, and that will elicit a very different kind of feeling for the opening of the hip. That'll feel interesting and good. Good, with quotes around it. While the legs are in this position, do take note of whether the knee is sort of caving in toward the middle, if either knee is moving in toward the midline. So maybe you want to actually, peek out from under your eye pillow, or just notice if the right knee is moving in on its line toward the center. And even again, that little bit of movement really changes the trajectory of the pose. So just taking your time feeling that through. Sometimes I keep my foot flat against the wall. Sometimes I move just so the heel is against the wall. You can try both ways. And you can also add just a little bit of movement left and right. That sometimes feels really good. Just a little movement left and right. Wonderful. So in this pose, you do want to be feeling that rather bold sensation in the hip. And in the mind, you know that all of that feeling is space being created in that very complex system of the hip joint. So you've got a lot going on in that joint, as you know. There are nerves that pass through there. There are many muscles, bones, ligaments that all work to keep this structure of the body so that we can walk upright, and so we can walk for miles and cycle and play and dance and climb. And there's also a lot of pressure on that part of the body. So here, we'll just take 3 more breaths, really opening up. Surrendering the shoulders. And then as you feel ready, begin to straighten that right leg. Unfold the left. Take your time. Good. And just pause for a moment, noticing the difference between the legs. Take your time. Good. And then crossing opposite ankle over opposite thigh. So whichever leg you did before is great. Pausing for a moment. And do give yourself a few breaths to get into this posture. So it might be that you want to use the hand to press that knee away from your body just a little bit. That's nice to do. And then beginning to take little deeper steps into that water, that pond of this practice. It's always the way I envision it, because we want to keep our bodies receptive to what we're doing. And so we want to just take our time as we maybe bend that straightened leg, just keeping the nervous system at ease, making sure that there's not so much sensation that the body revolts, right? Deep breaths. You can draw that heel down the wall just a little bit. And I love the freedom of being able to move, just let the body sway a little bit to the right and left. It's a really nice way to go. Notice if you're holding your breath. Notice if the shoulders have taken on a little tension. And just take a couple of more breaths here. And then as you feel ready, we'll make our way out of this pose. Just take your time. You can straighten that bent leg first, and then uncross the legs. Wonderful. And just take a few breaths, regrounding the spine. If you'd like, from here you can take one roll up and roll down just to kind of rebalance your body left to right. Yeah, that's perfect. Good. Let's see what happens if you come up a little higher with the hips. Good. And then as you feel ready, just straightening the legs, taking just a couple of moments on the back, feeling the balance in your body left to right. As you feel like it, you can gently move the support. If you have an eye pillow or something across the eyes, just move that out of the way. Keep the eyes closed. And then we are going to move onto our side. So you can bend the knees and just walk the feet down the wall toward the side of the room. Either way is great. And just make your way over onto one side. Take your time. Now, your spine has been in a very deliberate, therapeutic spot for quite a while. So you do want to just pause for a moment on the side and just take your time here. Eventually, we're going to gently press ourselves up. And then go ahead and take child's pose for a moment. So wiggle your body around a little bit so that you can stretch yourself out and into child's pose. And you're welcome to use the bolster underneath you if you choose, if you have the couch cushion or anything like that. And you can use it the wide way or the long way, either way that you choose. And Piper's taking a lot of care with her back. Deep breaths. just taking a couple of more breaths, just wonderfully balancing the body. Keep in mind that if you are able to take more time here and stay either in child's pose or in a more traditional final relaxation, you're welcome to make your way onto your back and pause there. And so just know that always in all of our experiences in these videotaped classes, you're welcome to stretch your final relaxation out as long as you like, in any way that you'd like. So if you're with us here today, you're welcome to just slowly come out of this pose. And we're just going to press the hands into the ground. Just walk your hands back toward your body. You can sit back on your heels or feel free to move into any kind of cross-legged position. Take your time moving and just re-entering the room where you are. Close the eyes. And let's bring the hands to the heart. Touch the palms together. That's nice to do if you're closing your practice, especially from something against the wall like this. It just brings the hemispheres of our bodies back to center. And I'd love to just personally thank you for participating with us here at 21st Yoga. I'm delighted to practice with you and to be with you. So thank you very much. Thank you to Piper for being such a wonderful model student for us today. And I'll close the practice with this offering that is a very loose translation, the word namaste, which essentially means all that is wonderful and divine in me honors all that is wonderful and divine in you. So thank you very much for being here today, everybody. Namaste.